Join me, Charlie Teal, the host of The Call to Create, as we sit down today with Riccardo Waites, the creator of COBLA, the Central Oregon Black Leaders Assembly. All right, so today we're sitting down with Riccardo Waites. Thank you for being here today, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So, Riccardo, you have a pretty impressive past and an impressive present as well. But your background is you served in the Navy, right? And submarines.
Yeah.
How long were you in there? How long did you do that?
I was in the Navy for a total of 8 years.
Okay.
So I did my first 4 years was on fast attack submarine, USS San Francisco 711. Shout out to all my submariners out there.
Yeah.
So I spent 4 years there, and then I went to shore duty where I was with ACB 1 Construction Battalion Unit, the Seabees, over on Coronado, and over there for a while.
Now, when you got into the Navy, did you know that submarines was the direction you wanted to go in? What?
No, my great uncle was attempting to keep me out of trouble. My great uncle Paul was a merchant marine, very respected in my family, world traveler. So I was kind of running wild at 16, 17, just doing my thing, trying to figure out my place in life. And he didn't like the direction I was going, so he told me, tomorrow I'm picking you up at 9 a.m. I want you to be in your best suit, make sure your shoes are shined, and we're gonna go get you a job. And I said, cool, all right, whatever you say, because he's the guy.
Right.
So you don't tell him no. So yes sir, I'll be ready. So I was ready, and he took me down to the Navy recruiter, and he said, if you pass this ASVAB test, you're going into the military, and you don't tell him no. So that's how I got in.
Okay. So he was in the Merchant Marine.
Yeah, he was in the Merchant Marines. Okay. He was just a great guy. I really miss him. He taught me a lot about what it is to be black. He's been to Africa several times. I'm waiting for my mother to give me some of the paintings he did while he was there. He was just a great guy, and I really miss him.
Yeah. So I guess when did he pass away?
Oh, he passed away 97.
Okay, so a while back.
It's been a while.
Okay. I wasn't sure from the way you were saying that if that was like a recent thing.
Well, it still hurts, you never forget your loved one, especially someone that was that important to me personally.
Right.
As many times as I ran, he used to live across the street when I was, 8, 9, so to go over to his house and spend the day was nothing. So.
Right. And where did you grow up?
Toledo, Ohio.
Okay. I don't know much about that area. I had family like in the Akron area, but I don't really know Toledo.
That's on the other side of the state. Toledo's known for, when I was young, glass. It was the glass city. So Toledo, and also the auto industries there. But it's right there by Lake Erie, so it's all kind of different stuff to do.
Okay.
So it's not just big city.
Was it a cool place to grow up? Did you enjoy that?
No. It was not. I mean, I knew a lot of good people and a lot of great people, but my childhood wasn't fun.
Right.
It wasn't cool. It was a struggle to survive, to be alive, even though my family wasn't, in that lifestyle. I think that makes it even harder when your family's trying to provide a good example for you to follow, when there's so much else going on where, you walk out the door and you see guys have money but no jobs, My cousin, who is a rapper, he did a rap song, and he said, no, I ain't got no job, but I've been working all day, and that kind of lifestyle, you see that as a kid, you want the money, you want the cars,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So yeah,
Especially if that's the only thing you see, the only way to get
yeah,
that.
yeah. You can either. I grew up a lot of my years with my grandparents, so my grandmother was a 35-year worker at the post office. And
Okay.
my grandfather owned a bar before I was born, and after that became a painter and retired as a painter. So growing up watching them work hard and be gone all day and that kind of thing, it makes you think, because look at where we're living. We got two people working 40 hours a week. One's working for the government and the other one's working a good paying job, but we're still living in my grandfather's mother's house.
Right. Right.
So, you know, that's the comparison that young people have to see. So.
Right. And was it your great uncle?
Yeah.
Your great uncle, was he right? Was the Navy, did that
He was
did that
right.
set you on a good path?
He was right and he was wrong. No, my path stayed the same.
Right.
Because that's where I was mentally at that age, you know. I didn't think a lot about anything but having fun and making money. You know, that was the two. So the military gave me at 18, you know, a free place, a free apartment basically with
Right.
a roommate, you know, free food, good credit, a bank account, and a decent paycheck. Way more than I was making hustling on the streets, you know.
Right.
So it was good in that way, but it also gave me without the experience or the knowledge, it gave me enough money to feed my demons. So
Right.
I had no idea of savings or investments or anything like that. All I knew was, hey, I got enough money to go party with my friends and be crazy and meet
Right.
girls and
Right.
do that. So that got me in a little trouble. So military's no place to joke around.
Right. Right.
So I got in some trouble while I was there. Also, it's a place for people who are in opposition to my existence being my boss. And that's a big reason that I got out of the military, was because of the power struggle of me being black, hardworking, but having a racist boss, not very fun.
Right.
And it can make you upset, you know, and break you down mentally. So those were my demons while I was in the military. By the time I got a little older, oh my God, there's deer running down the street. As I got a little older, only in Bend, Oregon, man.
Right.
As I got a little older, I realized, you know, through friendships and early relationships, I got married early when I was in the military.
Okay.
So that was a disaster, because I had no idea about relationships. And, you know, what I knew was in the music videos I saw, or,
Right.
you know,
Right.
what I learned from seeing friends. So
Not exactly the best example of how to have a solid
yeah,
relationship.
that's why I think it's a rough time for a lot of people of color who join the military, because you go from this cowboy, you know, crazy lifestyle where it's just rough to survive, to very structured overnight. And that can be a lot for people of color to deal with. When I was young, that was the thing, you know, black men should be in the military. That was the thoughts from, you know, the kids or the movies I saw or watched. But when, you know, your great uncle tell you, Uncle Paul tell you, you gotta go. You gotta go, man.
Right. Yeah, you don't say no to great Uncle Paul,
Oh,
I guess.
no. Never.
And then so you're a dad as well, right? You have 2 girls.
Yeah, but these are my last 2. I say 9 children, so I have 8 children of my own, and then I kind of neighborhood adopted one of my girlfriend's daughters, and she was around me from 3 until 16, 17.
Wow, okay.
So even though me and her mother didn't last that long, we maintained our relationship. So I've got a total of 9 kids, and I love them all dearly. Most of them are grown. These are the last 2 that are home right now, 9 and 8.
Wow,
2 little
okay.
girls, Kaya and Pippi.
So how old is your oldest child?
My oldest child just turned 30.
You made the most of that. Yeah,
I made
from
the most
30
of it.
to 8.
Oh yeah, I went big. If you're gonna do it big.
Right.
So,
yeah. And right when you were getting out of it, you're like, no, I'm gonna jump back in.
Well, the thing about it is, again, it's the access to knowledge when you're a person of color growing up. I didn't know how to deal with relationships, and I surely didn't pay attention in sex education class in school. Not that it was a great course anyway.
Yeah.
So it's hit and miss when you don't have access to knowledge. It can be crippling, and that's the first 30 years of my life was like that. So to be able to look back and reflect on that and know that's what helped me build COBLA, knowing that lack of knowledge and lack of resources is what we need to move forward.
Right, and that gets us to where we are today, which is you formed Central Oregon Black Leaders Assembly. And I like what you say on your website about like your very specific choice of words of assembly, and black leaders, of trying to create an organization open to anyone who wants to unify and bring. Well, I'll let you describe it better than I ever could.
Well, yeah, it's. I'm pretty sure it's the first organization of its kind in Central Oregon. So, COBLA's goal is to put a safety net around people of color in Central Oregon, Black people in particular. So we want to not only protect them, but also enrich their lives and help them in any way we can. So one of the biggest things that I wanted to do and what I thought about when creating COBLA was how do we make change? And I'm almost 52, so I want to see change before I die. So that's how I was thinking. How can I make change before I pass? Change for my daughters. And I thought about my childhood. And I spent a lot of time at my grandfather's house. Mm-hmm. Okay, and my grandfather had 11 children. And so
Your family does not play around.
They don't.
It has children.
They don't.
How many cousins and aunts and uncles?
I can't count. I can't count. It's a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot and fun to keep up with.
Right. Yeah. Do you all stay in touch and you're all connected?
Well, we try different parts of the family. We're spread out too over all across the United States.
I would imagine.
We're spread out, but we keep in touch. Thank God for social media and all that kind of stuff.
Right. It's good for that at least.
Oh yeah, good.
A lot that it's not good for, but it's good for that.
So right. So
sorry,
I was thinking when I was younger, what did I need to succeed? And my mother wasn't around a lot. Not that a lot of mothers weren't around a lot. My father was definitely not in my life until my 20s.
Okay.
But my mother still cared for me. She wanted the best for me, even though she was out doing whatever she was doing. She tried to look out for me as best she could. She let me stay with my grandparents, who lived in one of the most violent, vicious neighborhoods at the time when I was growing up. Real near City Park in Toledo. Belmont Avenue is the avenue we grew up on. And so living in that house, 2-bedroom house with, 13 people in it, my mom didn't want me to go to school there either. So she lied about our address so I could go to the white school across town. Mm-hmm. This was really my first experience of leaving where I lived to go and see things how other people lived of different color. Right. So I would either ride this bus, city bus, or ride a bike to school. So I would get on the bus, and it was like going from a thunderstorm to Hawaii. You see so much decimation and bad things, and liquor store, grocery store, liquor store, gun shop, pawn shop. And then it starts getting brighter, and the streets are cleaner, and the air smelled better, And I met these 3 girls at my high school, DeVilbiss High School. They were the Grabarczyk sisters, Polish girls raised by a single mom. They lived 2 blocks from our high school. So we became friends, and I would spend time at their house after school and have dinner and just hang out with them. Their mother was gracious to me. I still talk to these people to this day.
That's cool.
But I would learn different things. Now, after a while, I started noticing the differences in conversation between the 2 households. At my grandpa's house, it's, what are we going to feed the kids tonight? Or who needs clothes? Or how is everybody going to get to school on time? Everybody had orders and things. Survival talk is what I called it.
Okay.
At the Grabarzyk's house, I would hear things like, make sure you get a business of your own, get a bank account. Think about investing in the stock market, get some bonds, build generational wealth, buy a house, this kind of stuff. They were really great, taught me how to play piano, all kind of stuff. This family, I love them. But the difference is, and that's when it hit me, that's the difference. I didn't have that knowledge. Everybody on this whole side of town is missing that little bit of knowledge that's basic for the Grabarczyk system. Right. So that led me to think, how do I institute knowledge and make change quickly? And that's when the internship program was born. So I figured if I can place people of color into a job that they wouldn't normally have access to on their own, either not being able to afford school for it or having some type of record or something like that. If I can get them into a 120 to 180 day paid internship, then that's going to help if they are able to land a job with that company. If not, at least they have that on a resume, which looks really good. So,
and that knowledge too.
And that knowledge you get. And I was really surprised at the amount of businesses that reached out to us when we announced that program on Juneteenth. So being able to do that was great. Then I said, how can we help them better? Well, I don't know about you, but it's really, really, really hard to focus on your job if you're working a dangerous job like construction or something like that, or driving a submarine. It's really hard to focus when you're hungry, when you have stressors in your life. So in order to fix that, I said, okay, so if they need whatever they need until that first paycheck, we'll take care of. Because sometimes that first paycheck's 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Right.
Your rent's coming up. You haven't been working. We just wanted them to be able to focus on the internship and do the best that they could.
What's the age group of people that are in this internship?
Our first intern is 16 years old.
Okay.
He's working for a company called Ben Sauce, brand new out here. They have amazing hot sauce and spices.
I think I've seen...
Yeah, they're out on Wall Street in Oregon right now. And Maxwell is his name. He's one of our core COBLA members. This kid's incredible. He's got a 4-piece jazz band. He's just great. I love this kid.
Wow.
He's black and Jewish. Everything about this guy is just great. 16 to whatever age you have the interest and the energy to attack it. If you come to me at 40 years old and you got the energy and the hunger to do it, I'm gonna try to give you a chance, That's
awesome.
all some of these people need is a chance. So COBLA wants to take care of, if they need a suit for these tech jobs, if they need shoes, haircuts, clothing, safety equipment, we'll take care of their rent if their rent's due for that month. We'll pay their bills, their cell phone bills, whatever we gotta do to make sure all they have to focus on is work. We just got a van, so we'll be driving people to work who don't have cars. Whatever we can do, that's what COBLA's willing to do. And that's the kind of organization I want is, what do we do? And sometimes it's unorthodox. Sometimes you got to go the route that everybody else has gone, but a lot of times you got to create that new path, and we're all about creating that path and challenging ourselves and helping people. So,
and I like too that one of your stated goals is to get more black business people to move to Central Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, you seem to love... there's kind of a love-hate aspect to it, I'm sure, but you seem to love Bend. You seem to love being here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're here, right?
Yeah, probably for all the same reasons. My kids,
oh my
the
gosh.
schools, the parks.
It's an amazing place. And there's so many good people here. And I'm going to use this terminology widely. There's so many good white people here. When the George Floyd thing started, I thought to myself, this is the place to make change, because there are a lot of white people here who are listening and want to help and reach out to us daily. So many that I got to say, hey, hold on.
Right.
I'll get back to you when I catch up.
That's a good problem to have, right?
It is a good problem to have. But I think Central Oregon's the perfect place to do that. We have Bend, and then there's Redmond, and then you start, out in the Lapine and Prineville. Now we got a little tension. So
Gets a little
we got a little bit of everything that we can take care of right here, and make everybody equal and just free, true freedom. I want that American flag to mean something to me, because right now it means pain, and I served 8 years in the military, and it means pain to me, and it means pain and hurt and lies to every black person in America, every person of color in America. So we want that to change. We want that to change. So it's really funny to me that everybody's in agreement, most people, especially when you speak to sheriff's office, police chiefs, city council, school boards. Everybody's in agreement. There's systematic inequality.
Okay.
Everybody's in agreement. What's taking so long for change? If we all agree, why can't we just change it? Why is there... We got to go through this initiative. We got to go through this. It should just go right through. No problem, right? Because we all agree. We want everybody to be equal because it's America. But that's where, in my own personal mind, I question or wonder, like I said, I'm almost 52. I've seen, all these uprisings and protests before.
Right.
I have a tattoo on my arm of Tommy Smith from the 1968 Olympics, when they did this.
Yeah.
I was born that day.
That day?
I was born that exact day, October 16th, 1968. So I feel like it's my destiny to be doing this type of work and trying to help people, Black people especially, to get to that next step of generational wealth, at least in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Hopefully, our internship program turns people over and they come back after they start their own businesses and want to help. And that grows to where other communities start looking at us and seeing, hey, over there in Central Oregon, they're doing things cool in a different way. And maybe they want to jump in and try that too.
Now, you had said in your interview, I think with The Source, you talked about, you felt that the police department here in Bend was as, I think you had said as racist. Or
you really want to go down?
I mean, I'm curious as to what that experience is, or what experience that's based on, or...
Oregon's beautiful. It's a great place. Central Oregon, Bend especially. I love it here. I've been here 20 years.
Yeah.
Don't ever think there's not racism here. Don't think there's not police corruption and brutality here. So I've had a lot of bad experiences. Some brought on by my own. Remember, not having that knowledge when you're young. Some of it brought on by my own issues.
Okay.
But most of it, 99.9% of it, is just daily life for a person of color, a Black person especially. It's just what it is. But it shouldn't be that way. And I was tired of couch activism and sitting on my couch saying, this is nuts. Until we all unite together and be on the same page, we're not going to get anywhere in this movement. And honestly, I'm feeling a slipping in the traction of what's going on right now.
Oh, really?
I do. I do.
How is that, when you say slipping of traction, what's...
Well, there's a lot of things that are going on that I feel like people are forgetting what the goal is. A lot. And I'm just speaking broadly here.
Okay.
When I look around and I see other organizations, out there doing their, I see 3 groups right now.
Okay.
I see our group, I see Central Oregon Diversity Project, and I freaking love Bend for BLM. If you guys never heard of them, look them up. This is a group of incredible kids, young kids, 17, 15, 16, and they're the future leaders, and they're incredible. That's the group to watch if you want to watch young people.
And so what was the name of that group?
Bend for BLM.
BLM. Okay.
I really love those kids. Try to include them in everything we do. But after those 3 groups, it's kind of hard for me to pick one of the other groups and say, hey, I'm with what they're doing. Okay. I like what they're doing. I see what they're doing. For me, and a lot of people are gonna hate this, but I'm about truth. In these times, truth needs to be told. These other organizations that have been around, I'm not seeing out on the front lines. I'm not seeing in the streets. They ain't helped me load no water. I would like to see more of that. Now, some people from each of these groups have reached out to us and asked if, they can help in any way. But being a new organization, I feel like I gotta vet everybody because there's infiltrators. We've already been infiltrated, our group, that I had to fix somehow. and that's just, it's not a war, but it is, because this oppression, these people aren't just going to give it up,
Right.
The people that have all this power, they're not going to, yeah, why not? It's not going to, until we all unite. It's power in numbers. Once we have the numbers, people didn't start listening to me until I created COBLA. Like, I've called every principal here. When the young man hung himself,
Yeah.
when he did that, Deshaun did that, I called every high school, Summit especially. They all fluffed me, Oh, yeah. Well, it's unfortunate. They say all the right things that they should say to a concerned parent.
Right.
But when that phone hangs up, it's over, But what they didn't know is a lot of kids I have access to. I've lived here 20 years. Right. A lot of kids, I know their parents, so they come through to me. They tell me what's going on in school. So I know what's going on in a lot of these schools from a student's level and a student of color's point of view.
Right.
But when I called and addressed the principal of Ben High about the N-word problem being thrown up and down my street, up and down, I had, at that time, the girls were 7 and 6. And since we had just moved, I had to walk the girls at 6:30 in the morning up to Ben High School to catch a bus so they could go to school across town at their elementary school. All we would hear is N-word this, N-word that. All the way up the street while we're waiting on the bus. They're 6 and 7. When I spoke to some of the students that went there, they said, yeah, they just say it all the time like it's nothing, and it really hurts my feelings. It bothers me. But if I say something, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
So I called the school and addressed that. Fluff, get off the phone, nothing happens. That same girl that told me the kids used it, she said, you called the school, didn't you? Uncle, you called the school. I said, yeah, I called the school. She said, you know how I know? Because I saw the principal running up and down the hallways telling people not to talk like that.
Right.
But guess what, Uncle? The next day he stopped when we didn't see him and everything went back to normal. So being a single concerned parent doesn't cut it. Being black and concerned really doesn't cut it. So until COBLA was made, now these people are calling me. Now they want to set up because there's power in numbers. 500 paying members, that's a strong statement.
Is that where you are now?
Yeah, we're over, last time I checked, 562.
God, and how long have this hasn't been in existence?
May 31st was the day I made the Facebook page.
May 31st?
Yeah.
So we're not even a couple of months. I mean, May 31st, now we're mid-July? Mm-hmm. And you've got over 500.
That speaks volumes. That says the people want change to me, because most of our members aren't black. Most of our members aren't people of color.
Right.
There's way more white people than people of color. But to have that many that are on the same mindset of thinking and heart set of thinking, man, I've been so shocked by the whole thing that it's really touching to me. So I want to take advantage of that.
Right.
By doing stuff in the community now.
Right.
We've done our protesting. We've done our sit-ins. We did our education on your rights. We'll do more things. But now I really want to push hard on getting into these schools. That's why I spoke with the Prineville superintendent for Cook County. And we have a meeting set up with the Ben LaPine superintendent.
Okay.
One of our members, Maxwell, the amazing young man I talked about, had a meeting with Senator Merkel.
Merkel? Yeah.
Merkel?
Yeah.
about what's going on in our school system. So here he is, 16 years old, talking to senators.
That's incredible. That's
COBLA
fantastic.
builds leaders, man, but he was already there, you know. So I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. So when you have these meetings with the superintendents of the school systems and stuff, what's your focus? What's the message you want to get through?
We need better curriculum. We need a curriculum that tells the truth. We do not need our equal rights history to stop at the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and then nothing after. That sends a message that it's over, you know, if you think about it. And it's not over. We're still struggling here. It is 2020, and the same thing that was happening to black people in 1965 is still happening. So the reason the Voting Act even went through in the first place was because Martin Luther King was murdered and there were riots. So that put pressure to have the Voting Rights Act. But to stop the history there's way more history after that. Right. Every year, my daughters come home with the same two things. A drawing they did themselves of Martin Luther King, and they talk about, you know, picking cotton and slavery. There's so much more that they could be learning. And to just restrict it to the month of February is just, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So we really want a big push for a change in curriculum. That's the first thing. Two, we got to get rid of, in Central Oregon, the racism that's going on in schools. How do we do that? COBLA's plan to do that is to create a community committee, because we're in firm belief that we have enough elected officials and people that we pay to take care of these things. They're still happening, so maybe we need a community committee that's going to come in and find out who's the problem. Which one of our paid people are dropping the ball? Figure out where the problem is and get rid of it. Plain as we need stiff penalty. We need to start talking to some of these parents, because where are their kids learning this stuff? So parents need to be held responsible if their kid is in school doing racist acts or bullying even. And that goes for not just black kids, not just people of color, for every child in school. We don't want to see that at all. School is supposed to be fun and a place where they get the knowledge.
Right.
And right now it's neither. They're not getting the knowledge. It's lies in their school books, and kids are getting bullied and beat on and killing themselves over it.
Right.
Let's not do that anymore.
Right.
Like, that shouldn't happen.
Well, the two things that I hear coming through from what I've seen on your website and from talking with you is knowledge, education, and learning about business, and getting, you know, it's explicitly stated on your website, like getting more black business owners to start businesses here, bring their companies here, bring business here.
Yeah, and we're on the constant hunt for that. I have arms in about 9 states right now, and they're constantly on the look for professionals of color who are looking to relocate. And then we offer Bend. Now here's the problem with that now. We offer Central Oregon.
Okay.
So we say, hey, come to Central Oregon. Gotcha. We have this position open. Okay, and so, but here's the problem that we run into. If you're a business professional, you're gonna research where you're moving.
Right.
If you research when you're moving, the first thing, if you're a black lawyer, you're gonna research here and say, wait a minute, I don't see nobody that looks like me there, and I became a lawyer to help my people, so maybe I don't want to be there. Or if it's now and they're looking at the Time article that came out on the protests in Prineville, they're gonna think, hey, there's some type of racial tension in this town, because that's the truth of it, that's Prineville's reputation to
Right.
people of color. So that's the roadblock for us. Yeah, we know. And I spend a lot of time talking to these people and trying to convince them, hey, we're trying to build a Black economy out here.
Right.
We're trying to build something special. Don't be afraid of the little numbers of people of color. We have good white people here. That's what I tell them. We have good white people here. Come on.
Right.
Come out for a couple of weeks.
Right.
We'll take care of it. You know, that's how we're going to have to do it. Because if they research it on their own,
Right.
it's a big negative, especially if they have families. You know,
Well,
it's a
and
lot
I have to
consider.
think, like right now, with what's going on with COVID, and I mean, trying to get anyone to pick up and move or consider that right now. I mean, you know, we're sitting here 6 feet away from each other. We're trying to do it all right, and traveling right now is a weird and awkward experience. I have to think like that doesn't make it any easier, I'm sure.
No, but here's the thing. Before COVID hit, they were still planning on relocating.
Right.
So we can talk about it. I can send you information. That's why it's important to me to try to get these people on the phone or get them in a Zoom video conference, because it's important that we create this Black economy.
Yeah.
It's got to happen throughout the United States. But us being a Central Oregon program or a Central Oregon organization, it starts here.
Right.
Later on, you know, I would hope that other areas adopt what we're doing to make change.
Right.
But got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And like I said, good white people here. Way to go. We gotta do something. I'm excited about the potential of Central Oregon to
Right.
do some things.
What I like about everything you're saying is that you have a plan of action and a plan that moves everyone forward, where you're trying to create new business and you're trying to get people of color into business and experienced in business, and there's an actual, to me, that economic force is a powerful force.
Yes,
if you create,
yes.
like as you describe it, a Black economy or Black people moving and shaking in the professional economic world here in Central Oregon, I think that the effect that will have will be far bigger than even if the numbers are small, the effect will be big.
Oh yeah. It definitely will be.
Right.
And what a great place to do it. Like I said, this
Right.
is the place. Everybody is, man, so much support.
Right.
And of course, there's always that other side, but
Yeah.
I always expected that. So
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention to it. I just try to stay focused on the goal, where I see other people slipping. And I just want us all to just hold each other's hand and say, okay, here we go.
Right.
And go do it. But I have real concerns, if you haven't noticed. I have real concerns about organizations here.
Right. Like the other groups you've mentioned that aren't
It's a big
aren't
concern
showing
for me.
up the way you think.
Well, aren't showing up, and it's a whole game to it. You got to remember, there's another side to this. There's a side that doesn't want COBLA to succeed. That side's in power, right? So how do they be in power but try to look like they're down with the cause? They have to choose people who look like me, that aren't a challenge for them, that they can allow to talk and say what they have to say, because the words that they are saying are softer words.
Okay.
They're not challenging words. They're softer words. And that's something that they can control and say, but at the same time say, oh, we're Black Lives Matter, man. We're down with the movement, like all the fluff letters that everybody put out when this
Right.
whole thing started. We have to remember that there's another force at work. It's not just us. And that's what I feel like some of the city officials, some of the power structure in Central Oregon have these pieces in these other groups. Okay, so that's why it's taken me a long time to try to figure out. I know, I'm not going to say any names, but there's several that I've seen. I did, and the Source Weekly is, I don't know if you know this or not, Source Weekly, but you're guilty of it. And I'm going to tell you why. The Source Weekly did that article on me, right?
Right, and the video as well. Right?
And the video, they gave me a video 3 minutes or so.
Yeah, it looked like a much longer conversation that they had compressed.
The conversation was over an hour.
Okay.
But here we go, right? I'm a new organization in town. I'm different from we're different from any of the other organizations that have been here. So I get that. I get that article. I get 3 minutes on the web with an over an hour long talk. I was just on Source Weekly and they had the Woman of the Year, Erica, I forget her last name, the Woman of the Year. They'd had a big article on her and it looked like she was in Better Homes and Gardens, like flowers and all this cool video and backdrops, and they talked to another guy and he's talking about, how to stick together and change, and he's got this cool hat on and this $80 shirt, and it's nice. It made me comfortable to watch. Whereas when they talked to me, I was more, that's just who I am. I'm a little bit more grimy than some of the other leaders out. So the difference between their articles and mine are night and day. Their articles, they get the big page, but then they got 15 minutes of video with cool, cameras and all these backdrops and sound effects, where they just talk to me and chop mine up. Right. So that's the little messages that Black people pick up on. Because believe me, the Black people are concerned. Every Black person's concerned. But yet you don't see a lot at the rallies. There's over 936 African Americans in Deschutes County. I should have 936 African Americans members. Right. But I can't even locate them because a lot of us have our head down. We don't want to talk. We're scared. We're scared, but this is not the time to be scared. I'm scared too, y'all. I'm scared too. I took a big risk starting all of this, People have threatened me with their rifles and their weapons and, all kind of stuff, but...
Have those threats happened in person?
Oh, you didn't watch my video when I crossed the line in Prineville? And I told the guy, you're looking a little racist right now. Oh, he had murder in his eyes right then. Yeah. That guy wanted to fight. He did. He wanted to rip my head off. But at the same time, kudos to him because he kept his cool and his friend helped him out. But those are the challenges we gotta take. I need to talk to those people. We need to sit down and have those conversations civilly so we can figure it out. A lot of people on the opposition, when I go because I had to learn who these people were. I didn't know until who BJ Soper was until I started getting calls from the police to look out, and to be careful. And, and that's so I got to find out who this guy is, and then I found out he snuck into one of our rallies and had some type of epiphany. And at least on this one thing, equality, we agree. We may not agree about everything else, but this one thing, he was in agreement with me. That blew my mind when I saw his video and he was like, I changed my mind. These guys are just trying to raise awareness, raise a little money, and help people. Why am I here? You know, that kind of statement on video, on social media,
Yeah.
did wonders for, one, my ego, two,
Right.
the rest of the people who are sharing this ride with us in this movement get to see somebody like that make that kind of statement. It was really powerful. So when I get little cues like that we're winning, that we're making change, it gets me even more excited and pumped to do something else and do something else.
Wow. Well, do something else. Like what's the next?
Everything, man. Everything. But let me give you an exclusive.
Look at you. You just lit up. You're like,
yeah.
Here we go.
Let me give you this. This is an exclusive. I haven't told any other newspaper or radio this plan. So, I live in a veterans-only housing complex.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to be a veteran to live here in Bend. It's owned by Central Oregon Veterans Outreach.
Okay.
COVO. Shout out to them. And so this is my place where I kind of restarted when I got custody of the girls.
Okay.
They're building some buildings next to ours. And somebody said, hey man, I think, you should talk to COVO about how they got this land, because they got the land through the city. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea. But I had already been talking to an incredible guy. I can't put his name out, but he's about to come out with some revolutionary building material. 60% cheaper than building material now. And he can erect a home without lights and power and plumbing. But he can erect a home in 9 hours with this new building material. Okay, he has graciously allowed us, he said he would build us 2 buildings just out of love. Okay? Mm-hmm. So my idea then became, how do we build this? Generational wealth. Well, I've lived in low-income housing a lot. Okay, it's usually garbage. You get the worst of everything. Okay, doesn't make you feel very good.
Right.
To live there, and I can understand they got to make it affordable and all that.
Right.
But my goal and COBLA's goal is to build generational wealth. Well, you can't do that if you feel bad. So I want to try to get land from the city and build little tiny 1,000 people communities where there's their own store, their own pharmacy, where they don't have to venture out and have their own rec center and community of people of color. And these are people of color that are middle class to lower class, but we're not gonna be accepted. I'm from these places. I know who gets in these places. Like I said, COBLA wants to do things different. So we're gonna be looking for real families out there doing something. You can be single, but you can't be the dope man and live at the spot. You can't be unemployed and live at the spot.
Which I guess is the difference from what you've seen in your past, right?
What I've seen in my past, especially in like lots of,
like housing complexes.
Yeah, housing complexes. It's the lady, their boyfriend, or 13 people in there, something like that. It's all done out of necessity. But I'm thinking we have enough of those, right?
Right.
So let's open up to the people who are making strides to push forward in life, to do the right things, to, you can make a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. I don't mind. I have a record. But are you out there trying to do the right thing? Are you trying to make change for other people? Are you trying to help people? I want to build little 1,000 people communities throughout Bend like that. So that's
not a small plan. That's a big. that sounds big.
That's 10 years down the line,
right? Yeah.
You know, in my thinking,
right.
But that's my ultimate. I would love to be able to provide that for people,
right,
and help them. And now, once you're in there, now we got, you know, this is a community. What do you need help in? You know,
right.
Let's help each other. I want to take away the government's part of help. Okay?
I'm all for that.
I don't want them going to the government for food. I want them asking their neighbor. You know, that's how it used to be done. So that's the way it was best. Sometimes I think about when segregation happened, how that really crippled black people, because that took away black business.
Right.
You know, that took away black communities. Desegregation, yeah. It took away black communities, and it didn't even work. So I forget the name of the school, but you remember, everybody knows the picture of the girls walking into school, and the military guys are there, and they're being thrown stuff at. Okay, yeah, the only thing that's changed since then is the black kids don't get spit on when they go to school, and there's no military. That school is still segregated. Okay, the black kids do this, the white kids do this. The black kids are still getting terrible grades. The white kids are going to Duke, Maryland, Harvard. So what did that really do? You know, I want to change that. We can't. What's going on, what I see in America right now is a whole bunch of reform. Reform starts with the letters R-E. What else starts with the letter R-E? Repeat. Okay, we've done this. The truth is, the policies, procedures, and techniques are already in place to treat people equally, to not murder people of color. We already have these. We don't need all this defund the police talk. Yeah, let's take a little money from them, because they don't need to look like the Army. You know, they don't need tanks driving around it. You seen that car they got him in, that little tank they got? That little SWAT tank? I'm like, for what? For what? So I believe in that kind of stuff, but all this reform talk tells me we're about to repeat the same mistakes that we've always made. I don't want to have reform talk. I want to talk to you about why your officers keep killing people when there's policies in place. When I talked to Sheriff Shane Nelson, I asked him, what's going on with the hiring process here? Because, you know, obviously there's something going on. You had one sheriff steal $250,000. You got, you know, sheriffs. I saw a sheriff that was in anger management class when I was taking it. And he's a sheriff, and he's grabbing his wife and being mean to his kid, you know. And then he said, well, you know, the guy that took $250,000, you know, we kind of messed up on that hiring. We took a look at the hiring process at that point, and we hired a new guy to go over his eval. And, you know, we found that, you know, he was a little narcissistic, and we didn't pick up on that on the first one. So we changed it, and I think we're good now. Basically, I'm not quoting verbatim, but basically that's what he told me. And I said, well, listen, you know, that's right when the news broke about the sheriff that beat up his stepson or whatever that worked in the jails. And I said, so the hiring process, obviously, it's not working. So how can you and I work together to create a new hiring process? These are the questions we need to be talking about. We don't need to be talking about, you know, let's change Article 839 to match this because of George Floyd. You know, we don't need to be doing that. We need to be demanding from our city officials, our DAs, you know, prosecute people, yes, but prosecute real criminals. Don't hold people in jail for minor infractions just to collect bail for them, or have them rot in jail so long on minor offenses that they have to sign, you know, the plea deal just to get out of jail and feed their family, for Christ's sake. Like, it's so much wrong that we could be changing now that we aren't. And we're just talking about reform instead of asking our DA, hey man, can you just stop with this bail stuff? You know, whatever the bail problem. I'm not a politician. I'm not that guy. I'm a guy that knows what's gonna help and is gonna make change. And I'm a guy, and our organization is the organization to challenge these people, because it needs that to happen. Now, I'm unorthodox in my challenge because I'm not trained in speaking properly. I'm not trained in speeches, or it's a lot of emotion and 51 years of seeing everything.
Right.
So I come off as, you know, a little rough to some people around the edges, but really I love everybody, and it's all emotion for me. And people of color are emotional. That's what we are.
Well, and the biggest difference, or the thing that stands out to me with what you've said, is you are trying to take concrete action. You're not waiting on, or you're not counting on the government to fix things for you.
Not their job.
Right.
Totally not their job. All these guys are complaining about how much is spent on people for welfare and how much is spent on that stuff, which is really minuscule in comparison to the amount of money we spend on our Defense Department. You know what I'm saying?
Everything is minuscule.
Yeah,
To that.
that's just incredible to me that we spend that much money. But everybody needs to not. The government's not supposed to take care of us, man. We're supposed to take care of each other.
Yeah.
These police officers should not be showing up at 75% of the calls they got to show up to. They shouldn't be in schools. We should be taking care of most of this stuff ourselves. Police are just there in case it goes. That's when they should show up. When somebody's being hurt.
Right.
Really, they should be taking the person that was taken care of by the neighborhood to jail. Okay, the neighborhood should stop men from beating their wives, or children from running away from home. Neighbors should be grabbing that kid and saying, get your butt at home. That's how it was when I was a kid. And it was, even though I lived in a place that most white people would never even want to come to, I had friends, and I knew my neighbors were looking out for me.
Right.
And that I couldn't get away with stuff because, you know, Miss Carol down the street knows my mama, and Mr. Jimmy knows my grandfather. So, and they all have permission to whoop my butt. You can't even spank your kids no more. So that's another problem in itself. You don't have to beat them, but everybody deserves a butt whooping. We're spanking city officials right now trying to get change, right? So
it sounds like a big thing for you, and where I think we align really well is personal, individual accountability and responsibility.
Yes, yeah, I love it. I want that, and that should be for every American, white, black, yellow, it doesn't matter. I really believe we count on our government too much, and they've made it easy. You know, once again, that opposing force is going to make it easy.
Well, yeah,
you know?
I think there is a force at work in government that wants people to be dependent on government.
Yeah, they need us to be. If we weren't, what would we need them for?
And that's where kind of I go back to. I mean, at the federal level, I go back to like what the Constitution, Article 1 of the Constitution, describes as the federal government's role. There's not many of them.
Yeah. Not
regulate
not
interstate commerce, and create a financial system, and raise an army, and protect the borders. There is a
How did we get away from that?
Yeah.
How did we get into all this other madness that the government has their fingers in everything now? So we can change that.
Yeah.
we don't need the government to be into everything. I mean, they're into everything. If you're a person of color, every aspect of your life is fear. Fear, because you don't want your neighbors to hear you yelling. Right. You don't want your child to be looking sad at the grocery store. You don't want to post pictures of an injury. One of my co-parents, the mother of my 11-year-old who lives in Medford, posted a picture of her son, and he had bumped his head, 24 hours later, there they are at her door. Is he okay? You're posting on Facebook instead of taking him to the hospital. Like 24 hours, and the government's in there trying to, make house visits and see what's going on because someone's concerned. Okay, when do we tell these concerned citizens, why are you calling here, wasting our time? 99% of these calls are in spite of, or they don't like the person. Right. And if you're not going to tell these person, I guess you really can't say, we're not going to check that out.
Right.
But you can say, when we check this out and it comes back and you looking a little suspect to us, there's going to be a penalty for you to pay.
Right.
We need to start thinking about that kind of stuff, because I'm not going to I don't care if I don't like black people, I'm not going to call the cops on them and make something up. And if there's a chance that I have to go to jail or pay some huge fine or take this class, because when the change comes, we still got to figure out how the government gets its money, how the judicial system's going to get its money. So that's part of change too, because once again, they're not going to stop wanting to get the money, that they're getting from pulling people over. And gosh, I had a DUI in 2008. What? In 2008, I had my one and only DUI. Changed my life because of how I was treated on that DUI. Okay, I swerved a little and first of all, I was tipsy. Okay, I was tipsy, but in my mind, I was driving said person's car to save them from getting a DUI.
Right.
And I got a little swervy, and they pulled me over. And, when black people get pulled over, we have to think about our lives first. And we have to think about what kind of person the police is going to think we are when they, one, see we're black, two, run our names, and you may have a little bit of something in your past that shows up, I just happened to be riding with a close friend of mine who did 15 years in prison for some very serious offenses. This friend of mine is also one of my biggest heroes with the way he's turned his life around from 20 years ago. But at the time, it was maybe 10 years after he had completed his sentence. So we get pulled over, and he's terribly nervous because he knows what's going to happen if they run his name. So he did what I would have done if I was in the same position thinking about my life. He lied about his name. And I backed him up on his lie because I don't want my friend to die either.
Right.
So I go to jail and get the DUI, and I get out. The very next day, they release me. A friend comes and picks me up. I made sure a white friend came to pick me up from jail because black people need white people to pick them up from jail in Deschutes County, because the police watch who pick you up so they can run their plate and figure out what's going on with them, once again, in everybody's stuff. So when I got that person to pick me up, less than a mile, I was pulled over by the same police officer who pulled me over for my DUI, who pulled us over for no reason, walked around to the passenger side of the car and began to yell at me for lying to him about my friend's real name.
Right.
That's the kind of things you have to worry about when you're black or a person of color when you deal with the police. And that's not just here, that's anywhere. So when I moved here and I found out, the shock wasn't that in all my life I'm tired of police being the same way everywhere I go. When I got to Oregon and fell in love with Bend, Oregon,
Right.
I totally expected that, you know.
Right. Now, if I can ask, what was that when you got pulled over for DUI? What was that experience like in the interaction with the officer?
It sucked. I felt bad because I was literally maybe 900 feet from the person's house whose car it was. You know Fred Meyer, and then that little apartment complex right next to it. They pulled me over in Fred Meyer.
Okay.
And they just weren't very nice. And now, honestly, I didn't have a license. Okay, I broke the law, clearly. I had been drinking, I didn't have a license, it wasn't my car.
As in you didn't have it on you, or you didn't have a license
have a
to
license.
drive?
To this day, I don't have a license.
Okay.
That's why my niece drives me around.
Okay.
So, not having any of those things, it was a bad experience for me.
Yeah.
Now, he could have just been, I was nice. You know, listen, I'm not even gonna lie to you, sir. I had some drinks. I swerved over the line. I don't have a license. It's not my car. Everything he wanted. The only thing I lied about was my friend's name.
Right.
But he didn't know that at the time that he's being rude to me and treating me like I'm not human for a DUI. That didn't hurt anybody. I didn't have an accident or cause that. So there's a certain level of respect you should get, even when you're breaking the law. You're about to get your punishment, right? You're about to do time in jail. You're about to give up all this money. You're about to possibly lose your job because you're going to be in jail for how long until you're able to make bail? So why not treat a person like a human being before you take him to a place where he's going to be treated like an animal? That's not the first time. That kind of stuff happens all the time. Roseburg laid me down with automatic rifles in the middle of the street for going to someone's house and getting luggage that belonged to me. But that person just didn't like the fact that we came. It was 4 of us. We were traveling together at the time. But we all showed up to get our stuff because we were leaving town.
Right.
So when I showed up with 4 black people to go collect luggage and peacefully gathered luggage, took it out, said thank you, and left, they wanted what was in the luggage. So what did they do?
The people
we got, they stole the
police.
luggage. They stole the luggage from the place we were renting. And instead of being angry about it, we just called him and said, listen, we know you have our stuff. We're on our way to come get it, and hung up the phone.
And they ended up calling the police.
So we went there and got it.
But did they tell
had
the
it ready
police
for
that
us.
You stole it from them, or what?
I don't know what they said to them because it was maybe 20 minutes later when we got laid down on the ground. But the fact that they could just call with no evidence of anything and weaponize the police against us. You know, I spent 3 days in jail for what? They kept me another 2 days. I spent 1 day in jail because they called the police. I spent another 2 days in jail because I wouldn't shut my mouth about how unjust it was. So they let 2 of us go, and they kept allowed to another 2 days. Gave us a court date. And when we showed up for our court date a week later, they said, we don't even know who you are. We have no record of you being arrested. We don't even know who you are. In the meantime, we lose our vehicle, we lose our job, our reputation's done.
Right.
All because of the color of our skin and then being able to call the police. That's all it took was a phone call for my life to be in danger with automatic weapons. Not, can you pull over? You know, not
I
like
have
that.
to imagine that phone call was they probably blew that up into something much bigger to try and get you into trouble, yeah?
But we train these officers for this, right?
Right, yeah.
We train them for this. So, you know, there's got to be a better way when you know, all the evidence you have is, police have never been excited and came over and laid anybody down when I called them upset. When the white lady, when I was out of town, I had there was a white lady that I knew, and she wanted to be a hairdresser or something. And so I was like, hey, I meet a lot of people that need to get hair done, you know? So she started going around with me at the time. Now, we go out of town, I get a call from a friend that says, hey, you know that girl you've been riding around with? I just saw her crawling out of your kitchen window. So I had a friend go over there and he said, yeah, your brother's ring is missing. He had a giant cool ring that he always wore, but he would leave it in a dish by his bedside.
Right.
And she went in there because she was mad at him because he didn't want to date her. And she was mad at him and took his ring, stole it, got caught stealing it by one of our friends. And so people told us where she was. She was downtown at the time. There used to be a cell phone store owned by an African-American downtown Bend in like, I want to say 2002 or something like that. She was there because she knew that guy. So we called the police. Hey, a girl stole our ring. She has it on her now. She's inside this cell phone store hiding from us because we challenged her to give it back. The police came, they talked to us, asked us what happened. We told them. They went inside, talked to her, and then came back out and said, here's your ring. Please leave her alone or we'll arrest you. They didn't arrest her. They didn't ask us if we wanted to file charges. That's just some of the things, you know. And how are you supposed to feel safe after that?
Right.
So people can now break into your home and not go to jail. It's just, it's not equal.
Right.
And we need it to be equal because I'd be darned if I crawl out of somebody's window and somebody call the police. What's going to happen to me? I'm going to get beat up, not only arrested, but beat up on the way. So I just want things to be equal. COBLA wants things to be equal. And that's the way, didn't God want it to be that way? God already figured this out. I saw a great meme on this. God already figured all this race stuff out. He died for all of us, or Jesus died for all of us. You know, not just.
Right.
So I don't know what's going to happen. I kind of do because I'm kind of focused. I want it to happen so bad that I'm willing to will it to happen.
Do you feel like this was there's always that, there's a moment for everybody at some point where you go, this is the thing. Like, this is the thing that all of my life has been giving me the experience to do this.
Yeah. I think COBLA is what it is for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was born on a very historic day for people of color. Like, my grandma talked about that day, my mom talked about that day, and it's a serious day to me because of what happened to them from protesting that way. I don't know if you know anything about it, but the music stopped playing. You know how you win your medal and everybody stands there like this. I didn't know about that, right? And they play dun, 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 dun. The music stopped playing when they did that. And you could hear a reporter say, oh my, in a stadium full of people, the Olympics, right?
Right.
So that's how big a moment and powerful a moment that was. And, you know, look what happened to them. Look what happened, and we should be celebrating these guys. Those guys are all, including the Australian guy who came in third. He's on my wall at my house because what he did was big too. You know, it took a lot of heart for him to put the pin on that the black people were wearing and stand in solidarity with them on that podium. So we just need to get back to that mind frame of thinking and stop attacking. People are crying for help. Kaepernick was crying for help for me.
Right.
People attacked him, you know. They attacked Muhammad Ali when he didn't want to go to Vietnam. They attacked Tommy Smith when he held his fist up. And these are all people just asking for help. But when people of color ask for help, it's never the right time. It's never the right way. You know, it's the same way of doing things. You have to do it through a certain process, and that process just goes in a circle, and you never get there.
And that seems to be the big difference with what you've created, is you're not playing within that system in a way. You're like, no, we're gonna make business happen. We're going to get people involved in business. You're working directly to give people of color the tools to have an impact, like you said, generational wealth, like creating a change in their families' lives for generations.
Yeah, and it's about time. It's been rough. The way that we do things makes it a little bit tougher for us to get to the places that we need to get, but...
What do you mean, the way that we do things?
Well, you know, I'm a door kicker. That's who I am. I'm a call you. I'm gonna ask our members to call you until we get a response. We weren't on the committee that helped choose the new police chief, but thanks to our members and supporters, phone calls, emails, they called me.
Right.
You know, and they asked.
That's where, like you say, when you get groups of people together, that's where local change, local democratic change happens, is when you get people together and they stand up and say, we not just want to be a part of this, we insist on being a part of this. That's where community, and we go back to what you were saying, like the larger role that a community plays in the bigger community around it, is when you have those people together to say, we want to be a part of this because we are a part of this.
Right. It's a big challenge, and it's been very satisfying.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It's been hard work. I haven't got a lot of sleep. You know, especially being a single father on top of it all.
Right.
And a dog owner, so...
And a dog owner.
It's a lot to consider. Yeah, I have a Chihuahua. He has 3 feet. He's missing 1 foot on its back leg, so his nickname is...
Does he have like a little Chihuahua prosthetic? Like a little...
No, but his nickname is the yardstick, because he only has 3 feet.
Okay,
so,
that's
and
bad.
I just love him.
That's bad.
He's amazing, but... you know, I have another life. You know, I have a t-shirt business that, thanks to COBLA, is recovering from COVID, because I lost it during that. And I didn't get a, I don't even remember what they call it now. I didn't get this $1,200 check.
The PPP loans or whatever.
No. I'm talking about the Every American... because I was 6 months behind on my child support. So that money went to pay off back child support, which is totally understandable. But hey, my kids needed to eat too.
Right.
At that time, you know, my kids needed things too at that time. I just think the government, when they put that package together, I'm all about paying my child support. But in a pandemic, my kids that live with me are just as important as they need to get. And that was a struggle for us when we didn't get that, when we didn't get the PPE for my business even, or I didn't make enough money to get unemployment. So I spent months trying to figure out ways to eat and to pay my rent and be creative at those times when really, I should have been able to, and I did it a lot only because I live in a veteran community, count on my neighbors, you know. Neighbors would bring food by. Neighbors would come and take the girls places so I could do little jobs to get a little money, you know, things like that. That's community life, you know, not government telling us, you know, do this, do that, you know.
So that's also the business you own here in Bend, is a t-shirt printing business, t-shirt.
Yeah, we make t-shirts. We do shorts, jeans, pants, but we use vinyl. We don't screen print or anything like that. So kind of a throwback style of
Right.
T-shirt printing. But I like it because, veterans are...
And you then that's starting to get traction again?
Yeah, it's starting to make moves through COBLA. So
Okay.
With the help of some of the other organizations, we got on, got vocal on the Black-owned business list and that kind of thing. So that kind of generated some business, and then we sell T-shirts and stuff on our site and masks and stuff on our site. So that also, COBLA buys all that stuff from VOCA. So,
Okay.
which is awesome because VOCA just happens to give away part of their proceeds to veterans. So it's all community-like, even
Right,
when we
right.
work with other people.
So what's if we wrap things up, what's the one thing you want to get out there that people haven't caught on to, or you haven't had a chance to say, or you just want to say again? Like, what's the
Two
one?
things.
Yeah.
Which camera is focused at me? This one?
You got it.
Black people, I need you to sign up for membership. Let's unify and get together. People of color, I need you to unify and get together, and we all need to be on membership so we can make bully change. I call it bully change. We can bully vote. We can build Black economy and people of color economy if we get together. That's what COBLA is all about. That's what we're using the funds for. Every day is pushing to make things better for people of color. But we need people of color to be all in. So that's one big thing. I want to see lots more membership from people of color. So get at us. And another thing is, this is all a process, everybody. Let's not forget the humanity in everything this involves. We can't, as white people, expect Black people and people of color not to be angry. We can't expect that, and we can't verbally punish them for that because it's a lifetime of anger. My mother told me something that resonates with me, and she only said this a couple of weeks ago, so it's not like it was lifetime, but she says, white people don't know what Black people and people of color go through on a daily basis to live life. And that's true, and even white people can acknowledge that. But the effects that kind of life has on you when you live it day after day after day after day is tremendous. So that's, why Black people are angry. That's why Black people are so emotional, because it's all their life been building up to them, and each time one of us get killed by police, it just comes out. So we want to remember the humanity in our people of color if we're not of color, and for people of color, we want to remember the humanity in our white allies and even those who are not allies. I took a lot of flack for siding with Greg Walker and endorsing his program. I don't know if you know about that.
No,
So Greg Walker is a ex Special Forces guy.
Okay.
Also spent some time in the Sheriff's Department here in Deschutes County. Now retired, and he's an author, and he's created this incredible training program for police officers that basically is called Verbal Judo, and it teaches police officers how to police themselves, basically.
Okay.
So it teaches them how to de-escalate their partner. It teaches them how to notice when their partner may be starting to cross the line and take action.
Okay.
All the way up to restraining their own partner. Okay? This is something that does two things for people of color in this community. One, it's going to save Black lives and people of color's lives, but just by the officers taking the training. Two, you can't have any excuses for killing someone unreasonably Okay, if their life's in danger, it's in danger. But murdering people like Mr. Floyd was murdered, there's no excuse for that, and there's swift punishment, because how can you say you feared for your life? How can you say I was just backing up my partner if you've been through this training? Okay. It's a level of responsibility to that you have to uphold.
Right.
So Greg Walker is also somebody that speaks his mind. And his Facebook honestly had some things that were concerning. Very concerning to a lot of people, myself included. Rather than attack him for what was going on his personal page, I thought about the training process, which should have been implemented starting next week. Mm-hmm. But through comments on his page and people focusing on what he was saying on his page, instead of focusing on the training that was state sanctioned, you know, it meets all the hubblabub of the state to do. One of the first programs of its kind right now. To get it done, they had to back out of it because they were getting so much flack from social media. We actually lost a supporter over it.
But you were like, yeah, this training does exactly what you feel needs.
This training is, no matter what I said on my Facebook post was, COBLA endorses Greg Walker's training and not his Facebook page. And then I talked to him privately about it. And you know what happened when I did that? He spoke to another woman who should hate police because police killed her son here in 2016. Mm-hmm. So she has no reason to like police or ex-police. And she spoke with Greg, and she spoke to me after, and we spoke. She said, you know, people told me he was right-wing. People told me I shouldn't talk to him. But I met him to give him an opportunity, you know? And he was complicated. And, you know, I didn't like some of his opinions, but his heart's good. He wants to help people. So there's that. There's food for thought in that. Right. And then when I talked to him, he started going over his own page, removing things that he thought would hurt people's feelings. This is what we want. And when I made a video about it, I put it out to the people. This is what we want. How can we make change and get people who are on the other side, are on the fence and could go either way? How can we get change if we're attacking them? That's what remembering the humanity in this is all about. Right. How can we make change if this guy who hasn't even made up his mind yet, but has said bad things and good things, why would you take away or try to get rid of something that's going to save lives and hold policemen accountable for that? When we could just talk. A little bit of nice talk to Greg was all it took for him to re-educate himself and look objectively at himself and start removing things from his Facebook. I hope one day this training comes back because it's needed. Either that training or build our own. But it really, Deschutes County took a big loss when we lost Greg Walker's program. Not Greg Walker's Facebook, but his program. Right. And I really believe that. So we want to remember the humanity, please, guys. Everybody's new at this. Everybody's learning. So please don't attack our white allies when they ask stupid questions. They're going to ask those because they don't know any better. And why would they? Right. Okay? We have to remember they've lived a life. Somebody told me the other day, you know, if you've lived the life of rich people and then you lose money and you start living the life of someone middle class, you're still going to know rich people, but your relationship's going to change with them. You're going to think about them differently, you know? And it's the same with that, you know? We have to we have to come together and talk and be humane to each other, even if we don't agree.
And that, I think that's the heart and soul of everything. I mean, certainly that's obviously, as a person who came up with the idea for this show, it's all about talking to people.
Yeah.
But that remembering the humanity of everyone involved, whether it's the police officers, the white people, the people of color, just remembering that the humanity that underlies it all, and that so many times that open communication, opening that line of communication, just breaks down walls.
Yeah, if you can get there, if you can get in front of somebody, you can talk civilly, things can happen. And I think that can happen with any person, even the dirtiest racist who's been racist all their life. It's been done before. Yeah. It's happened before. Grand Wizards have quit, you know, so I don't fear these conversations. I've had them with people already.
Right.
But I want to have them civilly so we can hear each other and try to figure it out, because that's what it's all about. Not the rhetoric of, yeah, we want change, and then posting something on your Instagram and we're good after that. No, I need to see. That's why I say about some of these other organizations in town, I need to see them. You know, I've heard about every one of them. I've talked to them on video call and had that meeting where all the groups get together and try to help each other. One group reached out to us, by the way. But that's what it's for, you know, to talk and get things together. But I don't see, we need grunt work. We need people in the streets. This is a battle, you know. We need people out there talking to people, everyday people, you know, and just sharing their experience. And I see a lot of elbow scrubbing with city council and chief of police and the mayor, and I see these organizations doing a lot of that. But nobody's talking to me. Nobody's, you know, very few. I'm not gonna say nobody, but the people I see out schmoozing and elbowing, they're not talking to me.
Right.
I had to stop one of them in Walmart yesterday and say, look, man, I'd like to get some applicants from you. This is a man that has access to quality people of color applicants. Why isn't he calling me? Why isn't he saying, hey man, you got room for this guy? He's great, right? That's what he's there for. But I'm not getting these conversations unless I'm stopping them at the stores or, you know, I'm invading. I've gone to a couple of meetings and been like, hey, I need this, or, you know, let's talk. So we need to get back to communication. Please, anybody out there want to talk to COBLA, I am open. That is why my personal phone number is on our business card, not a business line. Plus, I couldn't afford it. But, you know, we're open to talking and doing stuff. So if anybody ever has questions, they can always reach out to us. You know, I'll send a representative. If you got questions, you're white, and you want to ask questions without the fear of being jumped on and attacked online, call us. I'll send somebody out there. We'll meet you anywhere. You can have a talk with one of us. You know, I talked to one lady who said she'd never had a black friend in her life. I talked to that lady for almost an hour. I said, you got a black friend now? And I talk to her regularly now. So it can happen. It can happen. It will happen. Yeah. Because COBLA is all about that change, man. I'm excited about COBLA's future. We're so young. We're so young. When we get a year in this game and our members learn how to work with each other, and I know who I can trust, and the board's been together a good year, the change that's going to happen is going to be just immense. Right. I just feel it. Right. I just feel it. As soon as internship program came to my mind, I just felt it after that. That's what this is for. Right. You know, so.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there, man.
Cool,
but
man.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time and sitting down actually face to face, 6 feet apart.
Appreciate it. You guys having me. Invite me back in 6 months.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll check back in and see where things are going.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. The Call to Create with host Charlie Teal is presented by Ghost Village Films and captured at OpenSpace.studio in Bend, Oregon. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review on YouTube, iTunes, or your favorite listening platform.